you. Thank you for the wonderful introduction, right? Uh, the theme of today is thriving in the world of digital. And that's going to be at the center of the discussions which we do today. You know, insurance business, both life and general, is growing in India. If you look at the CAGR over the last few years, and even if you look at the CAGR predicted over the next few years, but I think all of us will agree that the insurance penetration in our country has a long, long way to go, right? And this is across, across life and general. Uh, Last 2 or 3 years in the pandemic, I think organizations have accelerated their digital adoption journey, right? And all of us will agree that digital is here to stay. So, how will we operate in this new era of digital, and as I call it, the era of collaboration and competition? Yeah. What kind of changes will insurance organizations make in their traditional business models and move forward? We will discuss this and much more with our esteemed panelists. I think Siddharth has done the introduction, so I will not do the introductions, again. But let me start with you, Vishakha. Yeah, insurance is still very traditional and needs push, right? How can digital push it? And by digital can mean a lot of things. It's not only about how you interact with the customers, it is way beyond that, right? So how will digital push it, and how are insurance companies reshaping their digital strategies in this era of collaboration, like I said?
Thank you. Thanks so much, Rishi. Um, we were having a pre-panel discussion, and then we said we have to really define what is digital, and otherwise it can go all over the place. So let me start by saying that we can look at digital in multiple ways. I think what has been easily done is the back office, right? The back end, the entire digitization of record keeping, if I may use that word, and access to records. Some of you may think it is funny, but honestly, I've started my work in a pre-digital era. So trust me when I tell you, even digitization is a huge step forward. Today, we don't think twice about it. One is about the entire backend. Then it's about saying that, okay, can you make those processes, a lot of them automated? And I think all of that is something that we've reached. The maturity levels that we're now looking at, the next stage was, of course, saying, can we extend it to the front end where the salespeople can actually, instead of using forms, they end up using digital forms, and you have data gathered in digital so you can process it, etc., etc. Honestly, nobody really thought about it from a customer perspective, because we all believe, and rightly so, that insurance is still a push product. Most people don't understand risk management. We are a fatalistic country, and we don't believe in risk management as easily. That is an opinion, not a data. And because of which, what we now need to do is to say, how do we build up customer confidence? And how can you use digital to build for customer confidence is one of the aspects that I would say that we need to look at very deeply. The rest of it, I think, is understood. People are using it, they're adopting it, they're in various stages of adoption. But if you look at what it is that insurance suffers from a lot, one, awareness. People don't understand insurance. Two, we don't make it easy. How much ever we try, we still use words like participating products and non-participating products. And even an enlightened audience like here is going to really struggle to give me the nuances of those products. So we need to use digital, one, to build confidence of the customer, two, to simplify the entire experience so that people can make aware decisions. You can only buy what you understand. When you don't understand it, you don't understand the need for it, and you don't understand the product, both, you can't buy it. So while I can go on, I'll just say that the next phase in digital needs to be about simplifying the entire insurance for customers.
I think you made very interesting points around, having the customer perspective, simplify what you are trying to, sell. You spoke about the risk management parts of it. You spoke about customer awareness part of it. If I can, if I can put the same question to you, Sanjib, right? How in this digital world, right? What is different that insurance companies need to do, or do they really need to do anything different?
No, definitely we have to do a lot of different things over here. No, so I'm actually very new to insurance, probably little more than 2 years, and I'm trying to still learn the subject. But fortunately, I had spent about a decade in lending businesses, and also been involved with Government of India in digitizing a bank itself, which was SIDBI. Uh, so see, look, there are effectively either you are giving money, which is lending, or you are taking money, which is effectively insurance, right? You're in the business of taking money, and when you are in the business of taking money, there's a lot of trust that actually goes into consideration. Okay, uh, and let me take the conversation slightly differently. There are effectively three regulators: SEBI, RBI, and IRDA. Uh, if I look at what SEBI has done with respect to digitizing convenience to the consumer, to the point that Vishakha has made, okay, they have really changed the demography of, or the experience of, or the thought process itself. And SEBI is also dealing with the business of taking money, not only giving money, right? They have actually completely changed the thought process, and the regulator has played a very enormous role in doing that. Second, when you look at RBI, I mean, India, 140 crore population, okay. Uh, I remember in 2005-6 in microfinance, there were $200 million was the approximate market size. Today it is more than $50 billion. And you have about 12 or 13 small finance bank and a large bank called Bandhan. It's completely digital. MSME banks are completely digital. Now, what does that mean is that product creation is also actually digital. Regulator has very limited intervention or interference, I would say, in product creation. And the distribution and the collection of it also is very, very simplified. But in case of insurance, there's too much of intervention and interference. With all due respect to the regulator here, but too much of intervention and interference. That has to, first of all, be, in my view, changed. Okay. And rest part is digitizing, innovation, supply, claims. Leave that to the companies who are actually either manufacturing the product or distributors like ourselves. So we run a technology company also, in addition to running a brokerage outfit. Leave that to us. Let's not worry. And India has actually dramatically changed how customers are experiencing buying and selling our products digitally. I mean, you have three large e-commerce companies, which approximately 100 crore people transact on a monthly basis. Amazon, Flipkart, and Meesho, Shopclose. But they are not selling insurance, right? So regulator has to play a larger role, in my view, than insurance company or intermediaries.
Thank you, Sanjib. Interesting. You brought about analogies between banks. You brought about analogies what e-com companies are doing, and you also spoke about what what role regulators can play. Coming to you, Rakesh. I think all of us know that digital is going to be here, and digital can mean a lot of things. It can mean AI. It is definitely not only the front end. It is definitely not how you interact with your customers. It is much more. So what would be the potential ways for insurers? What are you thinking when you start building your digital models, if I can call it that?
So thanks, Rishi. I think, of course, I'm talking for general insurance, which is hugely different from, life insurance and certainly banking and all. So the key thing in general insurance is that, customers need to be comfortable about buying a policy because they're always, doubting whether they'll get a claim. The key product of a general insurer is a claim. And a claim, the nature of it is generally to do with your lifestyle, whether you have a car, you fall sick and all. And most of them have to be handled on real-time basis. Structurally speaking, in a large format country like India, billions of people getting added, economically growing, and, exercising their choices now to protect their lifestyle is what defines the evolution of general insurance. In my view, digital is the only format which can really meet this objective. So now this is the consciousness with which we have to now build our thinking for distributing. Most of us in the last 2 decades, like I spent in insurance, we came out of a product mindset. I'm going to sell a motor policy, I'm going to sell a health policy, I'm going to sell a home policy. And now when we talk digital, if you really see, we are talking about a customer. So, if you really see the business model, is moving completely opposite from being a product-centric to a customer-centric model. This is a huge shift. When you do annual products, we do 1-year products and all. Very often insurers or anybody across the world in PNC industry, people are generally conflicted about how to price a product, how to understand the risk. How do you make it more contextual as well as more, I would say, sustainable for an insurance company? These are capital intensive. In 1 year, you'll get to understand whether it's good or bad. I think in an environment wherein we solicit a customer, we are concurrently also trying to see how do we look at risk and maybe give a real-time solution to a customer. Now, digital obviously means, we are able to now make things modular. Instead of giving a large format product to a customer, we are now getting into a modular structure. Things which are simple obviously get into a complete digital B2C model. We can use websites, we can apps, But wherever there is an element of understanding required, we get into a digital assisted model. Even when we really see a telesale guy, is that while he may give you a call, but he's not really running the rest of the processes, manually. Or even our field agent, for example, most of them will be onboarding now customers using digital tools. So structurally speaking, I think that most of the insurance companies, if you ask me in the last decade or so, have understood the importance of digitizing internally first to really offer that kind of an experience externally. And a beautiful development, which is very recent now, is that even the regulators recognize digital first mindset. And there are so many regulatory, privileges which are getting extended. Starting with a very simple thing, even to, not have a, preconceived product, you can now use and file, which means you move away from the filing strategy, which means you can customize a product. Structurally speaking, these things were unthinkable even 6 months back. So I think in the ecosystem, I think the way the health data is getting created in this country, the way people are working with NHA or open networks coming up, aggregator models, there is so much which is happening in the ecosystem that digital in some ways is like redefining the way we will like to structure the business. I think people are coming in a way wherein expectations are rising. Insurers have to now live up to meeting those expectations. And I would just end by saying, when we meet expectation, we think that the person's lifestyle we are protecting. Sometimes insurance looks like a big picture. No, after, when something happens to him, no. It's like what happens to him the next moment. If he misses his, flight or if he is late for an event, can I reimburse him $1,000, his taxi cost. So when you really see some of the things which we do, I'm sure you'll agree that digital first policy is the next view which we all need to have. Thank you.
Thank you, Rakesh. I think you made a very interesting point about the moment of truth, if I can call it. Being there with the customers when they need you most. You spoke about the claims part of it, and you also spoke about the, how can you make it as real time as possible. Shanai, if I can extend the same question to you, right? All of us agree that, we need to live in the digital world, right? And digital can mean AI, digital can mean data, digital can mean, it's more about customer experience, it's about user journeys, right? So what could be the potential ways for insurers, to build these journeys? How do you think about all of these aspects?
So, Rishi, I think we were, as an organization, that's my perspective, and my journey in the last 5 years informs my perspective. So I'll refer to that. We were lucky enough to be born in the digital age. We started in 2018. So some of the choices that we made were because of the fact that we were born in this digital era, right? For us and for me, digital is all pervasive and omnipresent. Today, I think no one can be untouched. No organization is untouched from the reach of digital and from the impact of digital. Now, how you choose to build your digital depends on your own strategy. So I would say, for an organization to think about how to build their digital business, I think it starts with what are you trying to do? What is your purpose? What is your mission? What is the problem that you're trying to solve? If you're entering the market, if you exist in the market, what is the customer problem that you're trying to solve, or what is the opportunity that you're trying to leverage? And that should inform your strategy and therefore your technology choices. Now, having said that, your technology architecture should, in my opinion, if you want to build today, I think a few things that have worked for us I can talk about. One is we decided to go cloud native from day one, and that has really worked for us. But again, it comes with its own set of challenges, because as you scale, the costs scale tremendously. So you have to constantly keep an eye on optimization. Maybe look at a multiple cloud strategy, which is difficult to do, but I'm told that on an infrastructure side you can do it. So every decision that you take, you have to look 5 years ahead and see what are the implications of that decision and make that choice today. Second, I would say that, build API first. I know, again, API is a catchphrase. Everyone says we are API driven, but genuinely, when you build API first, you have to look at, whether it's an API or not. Because I was sharing some time back, very often, we have organizations coming and saying, oh, we have APIs for everything. They are database queries. So you have to dig a little deeper. And for that, your understanding of technology, of not just the entire tech team, but of the leadership has to improve tremendously. And you have to invest in that as an organization. The third is, I think, which I would recommend, is collaborate. Don't try to solve for everything yourself, because it's not possible to do. Resources are limited. Bandwidth is always limited. So collaborate actively. There are many organizations, especially in insurance, solving for different parts of the value chain and puzzle. We actively seek them out and try and work together. The fourth thing that I would recommend is when you're building out applications or facilities or functional utilities, think platform. The reusability of that platform that you're building should be very high, because that helps to scale up faster. And these are all learnings that we've had over the last 5 years that I can talk to you about. The last thing I would want to say is think about data on day one. Don't say that, I'm a new organization, or, okay, so that, I will think about it maybe in 2 years' time. In 2 years itself, there will be a lot of chaos in your database to be able to do this. So think of it from day one, maybe a data lake from day one, invest in a data science team from day one. So to us, digital is a catch-all phrase. You have to define what it will do for you. Start with what you want to do in the as an organization. What is your purpose, and see how digital will drive that, and then build on from there on. And this is all, relevant to an organization that's building today. But for an organization that's transforming, I think there are different challenges. But again, I would say that a very strong level of prioritization has to be there. What are you trying to solve for, and what is most important first? Some people, there are no right and wrong. Some people go front end first because they want to change the experience at the front end and the back end later. But others go back end first, like Rakesh and Vishakha were talking about, saying that a lot of people have started at the back, getting the back end in order to be able to give that experience on the front end. So there's no right and wrong. What works for you is best. And but always make sure that you have clarity of the connect between your strategy and technology, because it's very often that connect when it becomes a little fuzzy when challenges happen.
Thank you, Shanai. I think you touched upon a lot of aspects of digital. You said you were born in the digital era, or your company was born in the digital era. You spoke about cloud. You spoke about APIs. You spoke about data, very, very important aspects of any digital, journey. If I can now come to you, Satishwar, one part of the insurance, the entire insurance cycle is basically the roles which distributors slash intermediaries play, right? They are, even today in our country, large percentage of insurance is sold through intermediaries, right? And by going digital first, or by adopting digital strategies, right? How do you actually address the customer ownership challenges, right? Because intermediaries today are talking to customers, like I said, in majority of the cases. And my follow-on would be just very, very related, right? How will you actually manage or take care of the intermediaries if you start selling directly?
So my take on this is basically I don't think it's say direct versus intermediate. Okay, it's whoever can reach out to the customer. I think that's the way it is. So it's whoever has access to the customer, whoever can convince the customer. Because insurance, the first question that you asked, insurance is still a push product. We say it's an awareness issue. Yes, it's an awareness issue. But the awareness is that in case if I ask the audience over here, do they know what insurance is? I think 9 out of 10 will say, yes, if I die, my family gets money. In a way, it's basically, that's a product which I buy for my family, not for myself. I am not the beneficiary. So that thing is clear. What is not clear is the urgency and the necessity, the realization of the necessity of it and the urgency to have it. So that's not there. And that's the reason why it's a push product, because it's a very emotional subject. So and that's where the intermediaries also come in. Or anybody who has an access to the customer, this is some understanding, some relationship, they're at least able to push that point through. And it's an emotional subject, so naturally you need to also talk on those lines. So that is the challenge. Right? And digital, from that perspective, is a huge enabler here. So digital in itself is not the solution. In terms like, if I go digital, everything happens on its own. No, it doesn't. It basically helps me serve better. And in this case, is whether it's on my own website or whether it's the partner, right? It's how do I enable them digitally to solve that space. So it's at least for us, it's never going to be intermediary versus direct or something on those lines. It's never. Whoever can convince the customer to have an insurance policy. I think and the other piece is once I convince him, the play which the intermediary will have over there is how convenient, how easy, or how simple is it for him to take the next step in terms of the fulfillment process. Right? For example, insurance even currently is a process which takes, if not say 30 days, it still takes a few days to close. Can that process be made so simple and so quick that over the toughest job is to actually convince the customer to have an insurance policy. Once he's convinced, can I close the next talk in say 5 minutes? And that enablement is what digital can do. A lot of those pieces, including going totally without paper across, and you will soon see that you can actually go even without a medical in some time. So I think that's what digital can for. It's a huge enabler. It's not an end in itself saying you go digital and things happen on its own. No, it doesn't. But it does help you to kind of improve your productivity, improve your efficiency, and improve your conversation with the customer in a much simpler way.
Interesting, you said that it's not either or, right? You coexist with intermediaries, and it's a question of accessing and owning your customers. Rakesh, if I can put the same question to you from a general insurance perspective, right? Again, significant part of your business comes through channels or intermediaries. So, how do you really manage them, and how do you, motivate them to continue to be your, extended arms, if I can say that?
This is a bit of a tricky question, Of course, Coverfox is sitting next to me, so we always been looking at how do we really, own the customer. But I must say there was an information arbitrage in the past because, GI industry did not have ways of, formalizing, knowing the customer or reaching out to a customer. Two, this is small ticket size business. So, to have a customer has always been, helpful for a guy who is proximate. In my view, those things are now changing. Customer awareness also ensures that they really come and explore directly or in a way by which they leave a trail for people to reach out to them. But the big picture reality is now that if you have to give real-time solutions, to customers on what I said earlier on lifestyle environments, risk protections on day-to-day basis, there has to be an active co-ownership between an intermediary and an insurance company. You really work with probabilities, you really work with solutions. You don't give customer, this is my product, please look at it. I think that those days are now finished. Insurance companies are now innovating, looking at what is a customer responding. If you ask me, the days of bionic insurance distribution is coming up, which predominantly means there will be a huge amount of AI-driven intelligence which will be available, with the insurers or with the partners, distributors. And basis that you will streamline your distribution mechanisms. The simple things will just simply move on to bots, and the complex things is where the human minds will get involved. And this is where the transition really takes place. This is where insurance measures up from the smallest to the biggest. It is not something which can be generalized in my view, eventually, because when you cover risks which are in billions of rupees and dollars, and mind you, by the way, this is not about corporate, even small risks like, the Bangalore floods which took place, the amount of cars which were there, in the basements and all, can give heart attacks to a lot of insurance companies. And these are all exposed to the balance sheets of insurance companies. You just don't parcel it out to, reinsurers. For example, the COVID went, all pandemic, epidemic risks, if you really see, are being carried. So in some ways, risk solutioning is the way by which this industry needs to grow. Owning the data has to be with this big objective. If you see data is only a way of, arbitraging who gets the, what paid as commissions or anything, I think that's a narrow view. This is a view of the past. I think co-creating relationships obviously means the distributors and the insurers now sit down, they define an approach. What one of my co-panelists talked, Flipkart, there needs to be an approach. You just can't really say, I just get access to it. I think access is in some ways now available. What do you make out of that access is actually going to define the partnerships. And insurance companies are also now capable enough to really give that solutions on real-time basis. So we really have API structures in place. We can integrate with any front-end environments in a matter of few days, even if it's a bank or something. So that level of complexities is emerging. But what is still not known, what I feel insurance companies still lack, is the real true understanding of the customer. And even a customer 1 year back and this year could be a different customer. So this is where the grapple lies. This is where the co-creation needs to happen. And this is where we will all work hard to really utilize the architecture, the digital environment to the fullest.
Thank you, Rakesh. I think you spoke about an important aspects of co-ownership of customers. How can you work closely with your partners or intermediaries to understand your customers better. If I come back to you, Shanai, you spoke about the technology adoption which which has happened from in this era of collaboration or this era of digitization. What is the real difference according to you digital has made, one, to the industry segment and, to organizations per se? What are your thoughts around it?
Okay, again, I think there is not an aspect of the entire value chain that has been left untouched by digital. But if I look at it, I would look at it in three broad buckets. One would be, the service delivery capability, whether you look at how you give claims to customers, how you underwrite policies, your understanding of the risk, etc. The second would be in product design, how have you been able to personalize the entire product? How have you been able to make creative solutions to the multitude of risks that customers are facing, and how have you been able to communicate to them effectively and create meaningful solutions? And the third is distribution. So I feel that, in all these areas, digital has had a transformative impact. Products, obviously, we can understand, in India, we've just launched telematics enabled solutions, but internationally, they've existed for over 10 years. This is about, personalizing in an industry, in a category that was totally Me Too or totally commoditized, where you're telling a customer how you drive, how much you drive, and a whole host of other value-added services that you can provide along with car insurance. And it's a digital product because it's completely app-based, telematics integrated. Not possible without digital. Okay. Similarly, IoT-enabled, home insurance, or wearables-enabled health insurance, where, your wellness or your behavior, health-related behavior informs your health insurance premium or the kind of solution you get. I mean, these are all examples of digital products that are possible only because of digital era. Amol spoke about Lemonade. Yes, it's one of the companies that I really admire, not only because what they have done on the front end, not only because how they have tried to address the customer deficit by innovating on the business model, but also on what they've done at the back end. There's this famous case study of them settling a claim in 30 seconds for a $500 jacket which was lost in a bar. Unthinkable, in a previous era. Today, if you have a factory that has a damage or a property damage claim in some remote location with drone surveillance and with back-end risk management or other analytics platforms, it's possible to make a decision on the same day. Again, digital. And distribution, I mean, there are all of us who've spoken enough on distribution. Every aspect of distribution, whether you're going through an intermediary or you're going direct, has been transformed by digital because it's brought about so many efficiencies. It's enabled intermediaries to sell better and more effectively and be more productive. It's enabled insurers to, understand their customers better and offer solutions that are more relevant, more meaningful, more contextual to, our customers. But having said that, I would just say in all of this, I have to say that, what we need to do further is that we need to have a much more nuanced view of who the customer is. Not just understand the customer from demographics and some other factors, what is he reading, what is he viewing, but look at a more behavior-based, segmentation. And this behavioral economics that they talk about, that's where, we need to go. So understanding of that customer will help us leverage the power of digital in a far more impactful way than we've already have.
Thank you. It's interesting, right? When we talk about digital, a lot of us talk about, onboarding, acquiring customers. Interesting, you spoke about, the service delivery part of it, how digital is enabling that. Coming to you, Vishakha, from a life insurance industry perspective, right? We all spoke about adoption of digital technologies, but what is a real difference you think, adopting or adapting to digital technologies has made to the industry?
I think a lot of what Shanai said will be very repetitive because when you're looking at the overall customer lifecycle journey, it's impacted various aspects of the lifecycle journey. So there's very limited repetition there that I'd like to do. But I do believe that I want to clarify and set right 2 points that were made on the panel. And I'm going to use that opportunity of having the mic too. So one is about, and with due apologies, no offense intended. One is about thinking of insurance as taking money. And it just touches a huge chord because when I started my journey in bancassurance, the biggest objection was, "Hum to aise hai, ab aap humse aise keh rahe ho." Okay, that was one of the biggest objections that I faced. Unlike you, I've spent 35 years in insurance, 1987 onwards. And insurance is something I'm very, very, very closely and emotionally attached to. Insurance is not about taking money. Insurance is not about only insuring lives or, payment after you're dead. Insurance is really about mortality. Life insurance is about mortality. It is about morbidity. It is about protection against disease. It is about protection against market volatility. It is about financial discipline. These are all the various benefits that life insurance policies offer. And if we can use digital to really hyper-personalize the need and address each person based on those needs, I think that is a true value of digital. When you have the last mile salesperson, I always tell people that if I could go and do my BDM's job, we would have, great productivity and we would have zero mis-selling, because obviously I understand so much more about need analysis, understanding the customer and psyche. Obviously, that's an unreasonable ask and it is a stupid ask. Obviously, I should be able to do that after so much. But can we translate all of this knowledge that we have in leadership, in senior management, onto technology to enable the last mile individual to make that level of need-based, hyper-personalized sales and offer the right solution on the basis of the right requirement, because no two individuals with the same demographic profile will have the same needs. And I'm going to just give one last example to close it. Let's just take two 35-year-olds, both of them techies, both of them working, in a technology firm, both software engineers. Okay. One of them has married, his batchmate in IIT or IIM, and she's also working. And the one has gone back and married his village sweetheart, who is, brilliant homemaker, and he's very happy with her. They're both in happy marriages. They both have completely different needs, because one person has a partner who is not financially dependent. The other one is completely financially dependent. And that changes the entire positioning of the requirement of the policies, the entire requirements. And that, I'm hoping, is what technology will enable us to do.
Thank you. I think you made a very relevant point about, life insurance is not only about protecting, oneself against an eventuality, right? It's about, financial discipline. It's also about, personalization. You spoke about, hyper personalization. How can we make it more meaningful to a persona or a set of personas? Yeah. Coming to you, Sanjib, we are talking about digital. We are talking about, how will we coexist with intermediaries. We spoke about, technologies, right? But if I look at it from a long-term perspective now, right? You think digital only model is sustainable? Or if I can also probably ask you a follow-on, how can digital only model be sustainable?
Okay, good question actually. I meant something else. I'll clarify later. So we'll leave that point. No, so see, let me just touch upon the coexistence part. And some of my thoughts are slightly radical, so please bear with me. I consider roles as very, very different. There's a role of the regulator, there's a role of the manufacturer. Manufacturer's role is largely to underwrite and process claims. And if you are selling the insurance which you are underwriting, there is a conflict of interest, right? And probably, and maybe it's my little bit of theory over here there, that LIC, for example, has the largest feet on street model or feet on street network across the world. They have about 1.8 million people who sell life insurance of LIC across the last 40-30 years. Okay. LIC is obviously profitable. Okay. Now, coming to the main question about whether digital is sustainable, and the word sustainable is largely determined from the fact that whether you are profitable or not, right? And whether if you're not profitable, then there is no sense of making that business in the shorter run or the medium term and the longer run. And obviously, there is a break-even period that exists. The problem, the way I see it, is the entire digitization and all of that is effectively almost like 10, 12 years with respect to insurance in India. Maybe much before that also, but dominance of that has existed since last 10, 12 years. Now, what has largely happened? In this 10, 12 years, people have tried to bring the same people who are on street to a call center, given them a lead generation platform and given them a telephone and allowed them to sell. And then the concept of customer acquisition, between majority of the people who are claiming to be a digital native company selling insurance, handful of them, and you're all put together, is largely about $5 billion that they are processing insurance across the country through the year, right? And if you look at their P&L, majority of them are not making profit, okay? Or all of them are not making profit, including some of the listed entities as well, right? Now, why is that so? Because everybody is competing against each other, same pie, same customer, and you're going and acquiring and bringing all the film stars and cricketers, everybody to, brand and market and spending thousands of crores around that. Now, if you just add the losses, you can actually cover a state of Maharashtra and cover everybody in the health insurance, okay? You can do that. And just to take little accolade over here, we were also following a similar strategy. But in the last 2 years, if you look at our brokerage entity, which is direct to consumer, we do multiple things, but I'm just talking about specific to direct to consumer. We are the only B2C company which is selling, and we sell all of your insurance. We are only company which is profitable, okay? What we realized is that there are 3 factors of cost: customer acquisition, then how you're processing it inside your operations and infrastructure, and then thereafter retention of the consumers, right? Our renewal rates is about 75 to 80%, which is again the highest in the country, and that's also one of the contributor of becoming profitable. We do not have significant customer acquisition cost, and our infrastructure cost is almost next to negligible. Okay, we sell almost 80% of motor insurance DIY, do it yourself. Okay, people could go to our website or app, click, buy. Nothing more than that. Okay, that is how we have become sustainable. Okay, and it is the only way you can be sustainable in the longer run. And of the total insurance premium that is getting collected in the country, which is approximately 830,000 crores, of that digital collection, and what I mean by digital collection is not the feet on street or the agents or not like that, okay, is not even $4 billion. So the entire market is wide open, okay? And if people just look at that entire market, which is wide open, most of the insurance companies will be profitable, and therefore they will be sustainable in the longer run. That's our view. And that's the strategy which we have adopted, and probably it's working for us.
Thank you, Sanjib. I think you spoke about the market opportunity, and you also spoke about having a handle on your cost, right? Both on your operations cost and on the customer acquisition cost. If I just point to you, Satishwar, from a life insurance perspective, right? Having digital only models, how can you make them sustainable over long periods of time?
Just to clarify over here, so when you're saying digital only, what you're talking about is direct only. Okay, I'm assuming it that way, yes. Right? So our take, at least the way we have moved in, so our strategy is based on 3 pillars. One is digital. Digital is the means, basically, because it allows me to reach everybody's phone. Okay? So that's the means. And data is the way that's the intelligence. So that's the brain for us, right? Which allows us to, again, make that whole process much more efficient, much more simpler, much more quicker. So over the call, over the counter, you can close it. And third for us is very clearly partnership. Right? And that's a very conscious one. So direct, of course, will be available, but we also want to move into that. So it's basically one, if you come to our website, naturally you can do that, but we also enable the partner to do that. In fact, one of the very specific pieces internally within the organization is the website itself is a partner for us. Okay? And the website gets the same API which my partner will get. So it's not that the website has very special status. In fact, the website is a kind of what you say. It has got nothing of its own. Okay, so everything is through those APIs which we have exposed to the website. So the same extends from a customer service perspective also. So I know sorry for this, take another 1 more minute. But the customer experience also is on similar lines. So the partner himself can again service the customer. So again, it's kind of omni experience. I start the process, say at the partner's end, I can continue with at my website. So what you will get on my website, exactly the same is available to the partner. So the thought process is, why do I restrict myself? Okay. So because the cost differentiator is not anyways the kind of a major benefit in those lines. So it's saying it's available. Whoever can reach out to the customer, let's do that, because finally we all need that business. So through the intermediary, through direct, it's customer choice.
I think, we have heard the buzzer coming in. So, I would just want to end by, thanking you. I think the theme, which is, which kind of is common across, across insurance organization is about, how do you know your customer better? And when you know your customer better, how do you then, address specific needs of those personas? Yeah. Yes, we spoke about, digital technologies and how are they helping us. We spoke about the moment of truth, which is, which is at the time of claims settlements. We spoke about a host of, topics. So I want to thank you. I want to thank each of the eminent panelists for being here. Thank you. With that, I think we can conclude this session. Thank you.